Hey there, YouTube. Welcome to JT Picks, and today I got Solo CHH with me.
So,
I've seen his videos before, and I just think he's a great presence in the space, and I wanted to just have a chat with him about CHH. What I want to start off with is just like, have you heard Tori Deshawn's new album yet? Yes or no?
oh man, I'm not gonna lie, you're gonna hate me for this, but I'm actually probably gonna be the last person to hear his album, unfortunately, because it seemed like last Friday everybody was dropping. Like it felt like a big drop last Friday. Like
It was.
Tori Deshawn dropped. Jackie Hill Perry, she had her own big project that dropped. Who else dropped? There were a couple other names. Drew, he dropped an EP.
Geo dropped an
Yeah,
album.
I was actually looking forward to hearing Gio's debut album, released from Capitol Records. But the thing is like, to be honest, I gotta go out today actually. So I lost my headphones because I've been having this bad habit of like losing my headphones.
Yeah.
And with me, it's like when I listen to music, I don't want to just listen to it like openly, like with my phone on. You know what I mean? Like I was planning to go for a walk and just kind of like listen through everyone's albums, but it didn't feel right to not have my headphones because I had lost them a couple of days prior. So I actually just came back from the bank this morning, so I gotta go and make a purchase for some headsets. So to be honest, no, honestly, I wish I could answer that question, but I haven't heard anyone's album, to be honest.
Okay.
Typically,
Yeah, no. That's fine. That's fine. I understand that, There have been times, especially like in the beginning of the year,
Mhm.
where there was so many projects coming out because like at the beginning of the year we had 1K Few,
Yeah.
Not Clyde, Swoop, and so many, and then there was just like this time where I wasn't listening to like all of them at once.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like I would just listen to one and then be like, I'll wait 2-3 weeks to hear the other one.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, no, that's understandable actually, because to be honest, especially with me as of late, and this is another thing too, like whenever I listen to music now, I kind of take my time with it. Unless it's like an artist I really, really want to hear. Any other artist that I knew was phenomenal and great, like to be honest, like the week Harvey had dropped his album, I probably took my time. I probably like listened to it like a week later because I was still stuck on Wande's album. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, because the thing, especially nowadays, I find lately is like with it. This doesn't really apply to the space, but this is really just with artists and music in general. In the music
Yeah.
space, it's like with really like the way streaming is set up. There's just to me now. It's like it almost feels like there's way too much music, and I mean that in the sense of like there's not enough. I want to say like I hope this doesn't sound weird, but there's not. I don't have enough time to like basically have an intimate moment with like your music basically. So when people
Yeah.
drop, when multiple people like 5-6 years ago, I was in a rush to like listen to like multiple people's projects that release all on the same weekend on the same day. But now it's gotten
Mm-hmm.
to a point where it's kind of like, well, I mean, I've gotten a little bit older too, but now it's gotten to a point where it's kind of like, as I'm trying to find more meaning and a lot more substance in people's music and just depth. To be honest, like now, just I want to take my time with people's music. So it's kind of like the week that Harvey was dropping like his Cry album, like I was still stuck on one day. I was still trying to like digest it and go through it and kind of just like take my time with it. So it's kind of like I kind of understand a little bit of like what you mean by like you know I don't know whatever it was 1K Few or so and so's project dropped, and then it's kind of like
Yeah.
you waited and like yeah, you kind of waited to like listen to those projects as like time drew on, So, because for me, like I have to like actually like take your time to like listen to it and kind of like gel with it, to be honest.
Yeah. I think it's so hard, especially if you're like reviewing or ranking and you have an audience that wants to know your opinion on it at that second, right?
Yeah,
Because you don't have enough time to digest what you're hearing, right?
yeah,
Like it's especially hard when a bunch of artists drop on one week
hmm
because or one certain day, because then you're like, well, I really want to digest this. I want to get it all in, but I got to do like, because I did that with Anike's project and Holve's. I reviewed them side by side.
hmm
Thankfully, I think that my opinions on those projects are pretty solid. Like,
hmm
I don't know what's your opinion on like Cry. Do you so far without hearing Tories, do you think it's a AOTY so far or
AOT,
no?
right? Honestly, I ran it through once and I was kind of like I need more time with it, to be honest. So nothing AOTY as of yet. I actually like the Anike's project a bit, actually a lot more, to be honest, just because I liked the production a lot more. I know with
Yeah.
Hawkins it was a lot more like it was very intentional. It was much more like it was really much it was really like in the substance of like the spirit and everything.
Yeah.
Um, you know what I mean? Not like not like other projects weren't, but I don't know. I think I need some time with it, to be honest. So I'm gonna say no for the time being. So not
Yeah.
an album of
That's fine. That's
yeah,
fine.
no. That's gonna take some time, to be honest, towards the end of the year, because I thought about making I would say a video, like a specific video like that, but like I would say a video like towards the end of the year, kind of like going back and kind of like refreshing my and jogging my memory of like, okay, like which albums did like I really mess with and which albums did I really enjoy, or like not in none. I'm gonna put it in this specific term if I do make a video like it, but like which album was like album of the year essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Yeah.
honestly, I was still like I'm still yeah, I would say no.
Yeah, no, it's so funny how like what you're describing
Mm,
with how you like the production of Anike's better, but
hmm
Holve's had more substance.
hmm
That's kind of the conclusion that I arrived to with my review. I said I love comparing things to movies because I'm a movie person. So
hmm
I said Anike's album is like a Marvel movie. It's more enjoyable, but the album that has a better technical element, the writing, and other subtle elements, is Holve's album. That's the better album.
That I will agree with actually. That I will agree with just because the only thing I'll say with One Day's project, or I'm sorry, I gotta let go of One Day. I'm sorry.
It's a Nike. No, I got you. I got you.
The other thing with the Ike is like I think there were certain pockets and points when I'm like listening to each song where like the flow and setup sometimes felt repetitive. But like it kind of yeah, I want to say it kind of like Harvey's substance drew me in more essentially.
Yeah.
Like what he was talking about, it drew me in a little bit more. I will say as of that so far, but yeah, I do agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, Nike's is just like the I can already think of like Heavenly. I love the R&B vibe of that song from the
Mhm.
Ad album. The
Yeah.
song with Holve, Heavenly. And then I love the I'm just thinking about the stuff I'm playing from Nike, stuff that's in my rotation.
Mhm.
All Around, I love that one also. That one has just this great presence. Another one that has R&B inspirations to it. I
Mhm.
love it. I call it the sparkle, the ding 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 sound at the end. And just like Anike's album is full of those moments where it's like it's fun, but if I'm looking for something more deep, a more profound statement, I'm gonna go so far in the year to either Holve's album or quick segue into this other album. Did
Yeah.
you hear Swoop's album
So
from?
no, he dropped. When did he drop the project?
He dropped at the beginning of the year.
No. I wouldn't have.
Dude, you gotta listen to it. Listen to it. So far, I haven't decided, but so far the AOTY is between Swoop and Tori. I don't know who it is yet because I haven't done too much of a deep dive into Tori's yet.
Yeah.
That's gotta be, I need a few more listens. But Swoop's, from what it, like that's a very very solid album with
Mhm.
that deep narrative that anybody's looking for. I mean, like, personally, it's not as replayable as in like every part of it is like super enjoyable to listen to
Mhm.
cuz like all of it's not going to be in my rotation forever. You know, you have some of those albums where it's perfect substance, that it has perfect substance,
Yeah.
but it's also extremely replayable, like something like Today We Rebel, where 9 out of the 10 times you were playing most of the songs on that album.
Mhm.
Swoops wasn't like that, but the substance on it and the story it's telling is
Mhm.
so perfect.
Mhm.
It's really elevated it and made it good. So I would suggest that you listen to that one.
Okay, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, no. Honestly, man, there are certain projects I like honestly that I never got around because I it just like slipped out of my mind completely. Or it was just or to be honest, it was just like I don't know how I felt about that artist, but then I was like but their album keeps like people keep like replaying it, recommending it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yo, I have to listen to this. Like I have to listen to this. So I think at the time, honestly, at the top of January, I was bumping the entire month. I was actually bumping Doc Clyde's album. Um,
Mm.
'Cause I was enjoying the features on it. I was enjoying the flow
The
and
hidden features too, because it had Aaron Cole on Baptized,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I didn't even know who Dela Cruz was at the time.
yeah. So I was really big on him for that whole month.
And 350 on Gru. Yeah, it's got that one's very enjoyable.
That was very
Yeah.
enjoyable, man. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It was definitely his most, I want to say it was his most mature project. I guess I want to say because it was just like,
I'll agree with that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I want to say it was like it was his most put together like piece of. Well, to be honest, I think it was his first album, like technically, because I think everything before that was pretty much like smaller projects slash EPs. But this was like,
Not Lil Foil 39. Lil Foil 39's like 22 tracks.
okay, that's a lot. That's like 29.
Yeah.
Because I
That
know he had a
one
bunch of stuff he dropped in 2019. So
that was 2018.
okay,
That's personally that's my favorite Lil Not Clyde album.
okay,
Cause it came on when like I had just been introduced to Paris Chariz,
mhm,
and he had like two features on that album on Demon Slayer and She Got Aesthetic, and
yeah,
Wande was on that album, and it's got a lot of very good sounds and like prime Not Clyde when he was being introduced.
yeah,
And you know what's funny? Just mentioning that album reminds me of Not Clyde had just been like being put onto the scene at
mhm,
that time, and one of the first songs I heard from him was from that album and one with Joey Vantes. You know who that is?
yeah. Okay, I'll go ahead.
Yeah, he was originally Joey Jewish, and at
Okay,
that
yeah,
time
yeah.
he was switching between the two. So I was having the same exact problem that you're having with Anike, calling her Wande still,
Mhm.
right? I was calling Joey Vantes Joey Jewish, Joey Jewish, Joey Jewish constantly. So
Yeah,
I mean,
no. Well, with Joey Montez, to be honest, like I think I just came in at a time where I hadn't because the thing is like with Anike, it's like we grew up with Anike or we grew up with Wande essentially like over the
yeah,
years. So like I with Anike at least it's like or Wande I had time to know her music basically. So like from 2018, I want to say, kind of like around the time when Lil Clyde dropped what was that album? That you just mentioned.
Lil
39?
Foil.
Yeah, low 439. So yeah, hearing her for the first time and hearing how
Mm,
she sounded and like, um, you know what I mean? She like her. Well,
she's
I mean,
very
like,
confident.
it was very yeah, it was very. I thought it was like I thought I don't know if you know who Dejloaf is. Sorry, Dejloaf is on like on the mainstream end, but like I was hearing her and I was like, oh, like is this Dejloaf? And then like I'm hearing her and I'm like, oh no, this is Wande, or this is this other
Mm,
artist. So
yeah,
there, like that's how I got to know the persona and music of like Wande and everything like that. And to be honest, it's kind of like I had 5 years to know her. Joey Vontaze, it was like I came in at a time when I think he was really starting to peak with his music, and
uh,
I think it was like no, sorry, the same no within the 2 years I got to know his music, that's when he made the change. So for me, it was a big issue like switching to Vontaze for a bit. So it was kind of like yeah, but yeah, no, I totally get that. Yeah.
yeah. I came around when the Vantis Project won, so I for I think he changed his name like 2019 2018 maybe.
Mm,
Well, I knew him for a year or two as Joey Jewish.
yeah.
So when he changed his name, I was like, who's Joey Vantes?
Yeah.
And it was just so weird for me.
Mm.
And I also completely agree with you that he was at the peak of music at that time.
He really was. He really was. I would say, just because like Joy. To be honest, Joy was one of the biggest artists I was listening to. Or I want to say Joy was like one of the first re-entry points back into CHH because at the time I really wasn't messing with it prior to 2017,
Yeah.
and it was kind of like I was starting to get little bites of it, NF, Lecrae, but it was kind of like nobody. I wasn't really hearing artists that like really spoke to me in my particular situation. So I want to say specifically like when I first heard Joey, Joey was like he was definitely like because there's different artists that like drew me back into CHH, but Joey for sure like he drew me back in he drew me back in sonically with just like his production and how and I mean like his melodies and everything and his singing. He drew me back in, and then from there it was like listening to I think Beautiful Eulogy I think it was called. That was like
Yeah. I
Beautiful
remember that
Eulogy,
one.
Vontaze Project One, and then he went on this crazy run with Vontaze Project Vontaze Project Part Two, and then he
That
went
was great.
and then
That was dope.
he went on a dummy run with Vontaze Project Part Three, and then from there like he was just like he was honestly he was churning nonstop music. Up until this point, to be honest, I think I'm convinced. Honestly, at this point, like he's basically quitting music altogether because
Yeah.
he's fully gone on full political. So I'm kind of just like, well, like
Me
maybe
too. I
maybe
understand that.
yeah, maybe he'll come back. But to be honest, even like the last video I saw, like it's him doing an interview with his wife, and then he's got the kids involved, and I'm just like, man, like I think he's done, man. I don't think he's coming back. To be honest,
Yeah.
yeah.
He took the Quarantine Deluxe album off of streaming a few days ago.
What?
Yeah,
Are you serious?
the album with well, at least off of Apple Music. I don't know if it's
Yeah,
off of Spotify right now. Let me see. Let me quickly check.
stop, bro.
Cuz that one has The Lord's Prayer with Paris Chariz.
Oh, he took the whole lot. Oh,
He took the album off. And as far as I can tell, the singles remain,
okay.
which I spoke about this with David Livick.
Mhm.
But I was like talking to him about how I'm so frustrated with artists taking off their music, like without warning. Because
Mhm.
like Henrik took off his entire, as of last week, he took off his entire punk album.
Interesting. Okay.
I was so upset because I love that project. I
Mm.
mean, I went to YouTube as soon, downloaded the files, and
Yeah,
made them my.
you can still technically listen to it with YouTube or even Sound. I mean, technically Sound like you don't have to go through that process because most artists drop their stuff through. I feel like most of them will drop it through SoundCloud, anyways. But
But then some of them don't leave it there.
oh yeah, true.
So yeah, the Quarantine Music Deluxe is gone.
Yeah, my goodness, yeah. So that's a well, okay. Well, it's not a big heartbreak because I can still listen to those songs on YouTube or SoundCloud, but it was like, man, like yeah, no, that was Quarantine was definitely one of like my top two or three albums from him, especially at a time when everyone locked down. Quarantine gave me so many moments and so much music, man. So it's kind of like,
The good news is the singles are still up, and so a lot of the songs that
yeah,
were on the album are
yeah,
still there, like Statement and Brown Boy 2 with Paris and Aha,
yeah.
and even Coat of Many Colors, which I love that song.
Mhm.
It's there, but the ones that I know that are gone is The Worst, In My Head, and Lord's Prayer. I want to circle back to something you had said earlier about music being overcrowded these
Mhm.
days. And you weren't even just talking about CHH, you were talking about music in general.
Yeah, so we stream.
And yeah, I think that I definitely agree with you that music these days definitely, no doubt, can be overcrowded.
Mhm.
But would you see that as more of a net positive or a negative thing?
That's a good question. To be honest, I would say as of late now, I think I'm gonna go with negative. To be honest, because
Hmm.
it's just gotten to a point, man, where it's just like you just like 6 7 years ago when Spotify was still creeping in and you know what I mean, like 2018 wrapped around and people are listening to like every stream, secular and like people are listening, like everyone's having their moment. Like hip hop in general, everyone's peaking, everyone's having their moment. When it comes to like the net positive of like, is this music saturation good or not? Honestly, I'm coming down on the end of like no, just because like the way the machine is set up, especially with like music, I think it's kind of like the way streaming set up now. Well, like payment like payment streams and how artists are paid out is one thing, but the way streaming is set up where it's kind of like you basically have to like churn out music. It's kind of like it feels a little bit like bogged down for me
Yeah.
at least, to where it's kind of like a lot of artists, and I mean some can kind of apply to CHH, but really it's like all of hip hop in general. But it trickles down to CHH as well, really. But I think the way streaming is set up, it's kind of like it rewards people. I want to say who, well, like it doesn't reward people who constantly release music, but it's kind of like it's gotten to a point where it's kind of like people are just releasing music every week. People are releasing music like, man, like just like every day, man, really.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like an artist will drop like a song, and then it's kind of like I'm getting to know the single. I'm still kind of like, okay, cool, like I'm really messing with this, right? And then it's like a whole week later, he dropped another single, and it's kind of like, whoa, like like hold on.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I listen to that single, and then it's kind of like the next single drops, and then the next single drops, and by the time like you get to the third or fourth, it's kind of like you look back, and it's kind of like, oh wow, like I swear I was just listening to this like 3 weeks ago. You know what I mean? So and then I'm like, he's got another new song, right? So it's kind of like streaming. I feel like it's gotten like set up to where like now half the time it's like, yeah, like if you have a good setup, good connections, then it's like, yeah, like I mean, your audience will expand and drastically grow. But streaming's gotten to a point where I want to say like it also rewards artists that basically like just constantly like post their music all the time,
Yeah.
just all the time. And it's kind of like my only issue now it's good on the artist end, because then it's like you can drastically like grow your listening audience um
Yeah.
pretty quickly. You know what I mean? Like I think I want to say a few years ago, like Drew Barkley, like he did this thing where he was gonna post every day straight for a year, and he shot up. He went from like hovering on like 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 followers, and he shot up to like 250K essentially.
And not only that, he got the reach plug. He was put on the yeah, I remember. I did the whole thing where I ranked his singles that he was releasing when he was doing the once a week thing.
Right. So essentially, like with him, it was like so that's an example of like um
The
releasing.
good.
Yeah, that's like the good out of it, because then it's like there was an outcome out of it. Like if had he not done that, he wouldn't have shot up, and he wouldn't have shot up his platform, driven up his numbers, and gotten those opportunities, right? Because it's also like I guess like practice makes perfect, right? Like the more you shoot, the more you're bound, the more hits you're bound to hit, right? Um, but I think like on the downside though, at times it's kind of like the
Sacrificing some quality.
I want to say it's that I want to say yeah, it's that actually. You're sacrificing quality, because on the listener's end, it's kind of like you, you get less. I guess like you get less intimate moments with the music of just like going back on remembering some key moments when it came to like listening to a song, and then like how much impact it had on you, and you're kind of stuck in this cycle of like people continuously like posting constantly, or sorry, releasing music, and then it kind of just like you kind of just get tied down essentially. You know what I mean? So essentially, with what I said at the beginning of the interview, with just like where I am like musically, I'm just taking my time, really. You know what I mean? So I still have projects I'm constantly like um replaying from like July, August still, that are still fresh in my mind. But
Yeah.
because those projects like really stuck with me, right? Like those are the projects I felt like spoke to me the most. But as of late, it's kind of like with everybody like releasing, it's kind of just like I just take my time with it on it. So to wrap that point up, I might sound like the bad guy for kind of like bringing this up, but for me on my end as a consumer, it kind of feels like you just don't get you don't get to catch enough moments like just like listening to a song and kind of from the artist, and kind of just like reflecting where they're at that time, and also reflecting where you're at that time with the release on their end. Like the thing is, like I don't blame them, because again, this is how like the system of like streaming is set up now. It's kind of like to expand your reach, you literally have to do what they call it the Rust method. I don't know if you know what Rust is.
No. No, I don't know.
Okay, so Russ is like he's an independent artist who's literally.
Roos. Okay, yeah.
Oh, Russ?
Sorry.
Okay. I
I know. I call him Roos.
okay.
I don't call him Russ.
I don't know.
But
Oh,
yeah.
I sorry. Okay, but either way, like people named like people call it the Russ or Russ method after his own name, just because like of what he would do with SoundCloud, like in his early days. Like he would drop one song every week, I think, or every Friday. And he constantly did it until he got a blow up. And then from there, like it you know what I mean? Like his streaming grew, everything just blew up, and labels were calling him, and like he was able to essentially like drastically grow his platform. But the thing is, like a lot of artists now are following the same formula into streaming, and it's getting to the point I find like as a listener, it's just like I guess like you get bogged down too much with like so many releases, so much music, and at least on my end, it's like it just feels like you don't have time to listen to like everybody's music. So yeah, I don't know. Honestly, if like I'd say like that's kind of like my honest end on it. I think it's a negative, at least on the consumer's end. It is a positive on the artist end, but again, it's kind of like how the streaming system is set up, kind of currently, and how
Yeah.
and with the way the algorithm recommends music, I would say too, it's kind of like I don't agree with it, but it's kind of like yeah, like that's kind of like how music's set up right now. So yeah.
Yeah, I think like a great example of that is, do you know who John Michael Howell is? He's been doing like the song a week thing forever.
Mhm.
He takes some breaks here and there, but he releases so much music.
Yeah.
He was on the roll he was on fire in his early years. Like he was 2021, he was dropping banger after banger after banger after banger. I mean,
Yeah.
I personally loved every single song he dropped that year.
Yeah.
But then like after, now that he keeps going, it's like the songs have muddled
Hmm.
and they all sound like somewhat similar. They lack their own identity because they've been so watered down. And it's like once in a while he may be inspired and have a song that I'll end up adding to my library. But
Hmm.
for the most part, no, because they sound so similar. And it's like, okay, where's the unique quality to these songs that
Hmm.
are gonna make me listen to these?
That's actually a good point you brought up. Um, Songs lack identity. I think that's like a big key thing. You'll find like you'll find with like listening to music nowadays. Nowadays, it's just like when music like when the release radar drops and then it's like songs constantly being turned out. It's just kind of like you'll need like no, don't get me wrong. You'll pick up like you'll pick up songs that you really liked regardless. Like everybody wins regardless because it's like you pick up something you liked, but
Yeah.
I think along the way, it's kind of like you hit those bumps and those hitches where it's like music is constantly being pushed to where like at times like it lacks identity a little bit.
Yeah, that's something that happens just with everything, like one of the positives
Hmm.
of the streaming, right? The streaming age we're in is that all of the artists get their chance to shine, right? There's literally a subgenre and a niche for everyone.
Yeah.
But at the same time, each of those niches are so overwhelmed that
Hmm.
it's hot and full of copycats of each other that you just like nobody's unique anymore. It's like that quote from The Incredibles: once everybody's super, no one will be. Once everybody sounds like somebody else, there's
Yeah.
gonna be no unique artists.
Yeah, you're right. Especially with like this whole conversation of like artists copying another and like Caleb's situation, which I think I'm gonna upload a video or record a video this week about it. If I get like when I get the chance. But I think even with that whole situation, to be honest, I think it's like a matter of like kind of what you said just a few moments ago, just like how niche the space really is. And like whenever CHH has these conversations about like artists copying another artist's flow or whatever it is, or this artist sounding to some to this artist, I think it's really just stems from the fact that like because technically CHH is underground if you really think about it because
Yeah,
compared to every other pocket and neighboring just genre of music, like CHH is very like when I talk to CHH to the average person, it could be like in like at my church, it could be like um people
they
who
don't
are
know.
like or yeah people who don't listen to Christian music, like they don't know, right? And it's kind of like that tells me that it's kind of like okay, well like even with multiple artists with like hundreds of thousands of followers or whatever, it's kind of like it's still relatively like niche. You know what I mean? At least for me, like especially because I live like internationally. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? Like to the average person, it's like it's not something you can regularly come across. Or actually, no, I was actually having this conversation with one of my subscribers actually, who I met through at Smokefest. But it's also something you can regularly like have a conversation with, to be honest with. But with that, with the whole copycat thing, I think it's like when it comes to the issue of like people accusing people of like copying or whatever it is, I think part of it comes from the fact that because we're such a small space, we can't afford to like once one person does it and then the next person does it, like mainstream, they can afford to do whatever they want because there's endless amounts of people out there making like secular music or mainstream or whatever you want to call it. That where it's like when that accusation gets put on you, it's not as big of a thing as it is in CHH, just because CHH we're a lot smaller, right? So once one person copies the formula, and then I mean, like it doesn't take that many people to copy the formula to where it's kind of like people catch on quick, right? To people like saying like, hey, this sounds like so and so's music, this flow sounds like so and so's music. So it's kind of like with CHH, it's like because it's a lot smaller, I think it has less grace and less room to like make errors essentially. But
Now, with the Caleb Gordon thing, were you talking about the copyright strikes that he explained why he removed a bunch of his stuff?
oh yeah, pretty much yeah. Why?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the thing is like I was following that story like all the way up to where it is now, and it's kind of like I mean I don't know, it's crazy when you think about when I think about it, to be honest, just because like with the whole Saya situation and how he just like on a random Monday afternoon he just wanted to explode and kind of go off on CHH a bit with his Minister Freestyle 2 song.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Saya did.
Yeah,
That was epic.
yeah, sorry, yeah. With how he kind of just blew up in everyone's faces, and everyone's like, whoa, hold on. Like, that day still stays fresh on my mind because I was like, the way things played out was so funny to me. But even with that and how Sai made a good point, like, when you really think about it, it's just like how he said it was like off and wrong, but like he made a good point where it's just like people say, I think it's like people are like constantly singing now, where it's like, how can you afford to like make like essentially counterfeit your music when it's like you serve like the creator, and it's like when you the deeper you get into the idea of just like who God is and how and his nature and how big he is, it's kind of like, man, like are you really gonna like, yeah, like whatever, like maybe for some people like they want to make remixes or whatever, like there's some benefits to it, but it's like, man, like are you gonna really pass up being your own creative self, born in Christ, to go make remixes constantly and continuously and then like have people like come at you for it, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so seeing that, and then also seeing that led into like the Kayla Create situation, which was just like her playlist and everything like that. And like, I don't know if you heard about that situation, but how she basically wanted to make like a playlist of songs that she felt were being like copied by CHH or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
Okay. I haven't heard of it, but
okay, yeah, no. So this was like a video. I didn't post it on YouTube, but like I definitely posted it on the Proper Excel's page, or my page, like a few weeks back. Essentially, she made like so on Twitter, she just threw up a prompt and suggestion saying like, hey, like I think I should make a playlist of like songs that CHH is copying. And so what she literally did is she took any song you can think of, whether if it's like you know, Playboy Cardi's, Fiend or whatever it is. She took literally like that playlist. I think has over 6 hours worth of music you can go through. But you can easily like run through it and skip it. But if you listen to like 30 seconds of every song, like every song, literally, like she's spot on. Like every song sounds like either a straight copy, or rip off, or like not a rip off, but like just a straight copy of like somebody else's song, or like um it's influenced by another person's song, right? Which is like,
yeah.
I don't consider like sampling like a big issue, because it's like hip hop is basically fueled by sampling, but it's like when you go run through the playlist, it's like you run through and you realize like, oh wow, like people like,
Yeah.
yeah, people are like literally like this song came from this, like, and then you're making the dots and you're like, oh wow, like they kind of have a point, you know what I mean? So I remember like when she made that playlist, like so many people caught on to it. No big deal, and a lot of artists like wanted to hear this playlist because it's kind of like, oh wow, like you're right, like. this is like a big issue. But essentially, that problem led into like, I think I talked about it and I commented on it. And then I think like me talking about it, I was just trying to draw out like really the artists to bring them on for a conversation, just to not really like go at people, like poke a stick and go at people, but really kind of just like in good faith, like just kind of like, kind of like just get artists to like fess up, really, just kind of like, or at least just give clarity, like, yo, like, what's going on, man? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you made this remix, you made that remix, you made this song, you made that song, because people, a lot of people were getting heated in the comments about like people literally like straight up stealing other people's songs. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
essentially like whatever, copyright infringement. And which that like I hope somebody like I run across someone that like fully explains to me how that works, because it's kind of like listening to a song, like I don't know how I can tell that, like it's hard to tell like somebody stealing a song versus like somebody getting paid.
Inspired.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like it's a very blurry line between like being inspired by a song, having a song cleared, so like the person cleared the song or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? It's hard to tell if even the artist is like how do you know if artist is being is monetizing off another person's song, like that, like.
I actually have a very good example of this. There's this
Mhm,
Christian CCM group called Anthem Lights. They released this song called Wings.
mhm.
Now, the song was written by Kobe James, another CCM name,
Yeah.
and it was very reminiscent melodically of the song Waffle House by the Jonas Brothers.
Oh, okay.
Like, I could hum the melody of Waffle House, and it's the same thing as the song entitled Wings.
Hmm.
But I wouldn't say that that's a carbon copy, because it's like, it's original enough where it's like, okay, I can see the inspiration,
Yeah.
but it's not the same thing. Now, this artist has a song, this other artist, that literally has the melody of a Kid Leroy song
Hmm.
down to the like notes. Like when I heard it, I was like, yo, this is Feel Something by the Kid Leroy. I've heard the song a million times. I know what it sounds like. And I'm like, this is the Kid Leroy. So, I mean, there's that. And then there's even like something like this. Like, you know who Juice World is, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Take me away. Too far unaware.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I've seen his.
Yeah.
I've come across his reels. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, I can't lie. I like it because I like Juice World.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it's like, dude, you're sounding exactly like Juice World. You got your no identity because you're just Juice World.
That's the thing, right? Like, so one of the biggest arguments like I've heard for artists, like strictly just talking about Christian remixes and everything like that. One of the biggest arguments I've heard about artists doing this is literally because, and I'm not gonna lie, like I really can't let it slide, because it's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like this argument has a lot of holes, but is that like people who defend it basically say that like it's an easy way to convert like maybe a person who like recently became like a new Christian, you know what I mean? Like a new convert.
Yeah.
Um, or maybe it's just someone who's trying to like find like, I don't know, like just Christian music to listen to or whatever. From a faith-based standpoint, like it's an easy way to convert them to like basically Christian music, because you can get like, if you have a hard time listening to Fiend by, you know what I mean, Cardi or whatever it is, or if
Yeah.
you have a hard time listening to Juice World, or starting to like, if you have a hard time trying to stop listening to them, right? Because you're constantly listening to them, you're trying to get off secular music and all that stuff. A Christian remix is basically like an easy way to basically like transition people to that
Yeah.
platform, right? Because then it's kind of like, if you're having a hard time putting down, Playboy Cardi, if you're having a hard time trying to stop listening to Juice World, well, here's a Juice World remix of this song. Here's a Playboy Cardi version of this song. You know what I mean? Like, and it's kind of like, I get where artists come from with that, because it's kind of like, in theory it sounds good, right? You're converting someone from
Oh,
one
definitely.
one of music to the next base of music, because it's like, oh well, here's this other version, right? But then the issue with it I have is that like that person you're gonna convert over, if you continuously pump out music that's like literally like a remix of like somebody else's music, or just like or it's just like you can literally near like it's like a straight like, and I'm sorry if I'm like going back and forth between like remixes and influence and all that stuff, because this whole like like that, this whole remix world is such a blurry line between what's considered a remix, an influence, a sample, and all this stuff. But specifically when it comes to remixes, it's like when that artist goes on to the next song and then the next song, and they're like pushing out more music with like whatever like remixes or recreations or whatever it is. After a while, like you lose your identity a little bit as an artist, because it's like it's kind of like, who are you, or what are you, right? People don't really, in my opinion, people don't really know you, first of all. And then the second thing really is that, and it's just like, I want to say like that person that like person A that you converted at the beginning, when you're on to person C, D, F, and G, by the time you get to person like T, you know what I mean? Like person A, you know what I mean, that you first introduced to that Christian remix. I feel like you can make the argument like they're kind of gonna be like, yo, like what's up, like what's going on? You know, this person is constant like this person is constantly hearing so many remixes of like different people's songs, that it's like cool, like they have a way they can listen to such and such's version of a Christian version of a song, but that person is having such a hard time adapting to you and who you are and what your story is, essentially, right? Like it makes us, I feel like it makes it, I would argue it would make it harder for the person to like really get to know you.
I agree.
So
I agree. Why would you listen to an exact, like, for example, remix or something that's obviously very heavily inspired by the artist you're trying not to listen to anymore? Because all it's going to do is make you think of that thing you want to stay away from, instead of going to something, I don't know, maybe original, something that's new, something that you'll like. Find something you like, find something that appeals to you, but why would you try to go? That's like saying, hey, you know what? I can't drink alcohol, but I'm going to have non-alcoholic beer. You know, like, that's dumb to do, right?
I would say like
Just drink soda instead.
I would say, yeah. So I would say like one thing you caught on to, which is really like how all of us should be listening to music, is like listen to what you like, right? Because that reflects onto the artist. When you don't have the chance to be yourself, and person A is like taking in like all these remixes of so many artists and everything like that, people are kind of eventually kind of gonna be like, Christian music is like corny or whatever, because artists like remixing the same songs over and over again. It'll be like these artists like remixing these songs, and then it's kind of like there's no originality to it, right? So it's kind of like on the artist end, it's really the onus should be on them to really make like, if you, in my opinion, if you truly feel called to this, if whether you want to make like, if music's your passion, or like God is really calling you to it, it's like one thing like I would plead with like an artist is just to consider the fact that like, if you feel like it's a calling and ministry to make music and really touch people, it's like you're gonna get nowhere trying to touch them with a remix. People want to hear your story. People really want to hear who you are and where you come from. So it's kind of like when people are hearing copy paste of like so and so, it's kind of like it makes it really hard to digest, essentially. So person A at the beginning, you know what I mean? Like they're kind of you're throwing them a little bit in a loop of confusion, while like person T, you know what I mean, like the new person, like you're on now, it's kind of like you're bringing them in, essentially, right? Now that's all to say, like all this rambling I'm doing, that's all to say that like recreations and remixes aren't a bad thing, right? Like, you know what I mean? Because the thing is like the artist also sees it as a tool, right? Because on their end, especially like for a lot of artists that are trying to get their platform off the ground, it sucks because it is hard to like put your music off the ground and get it from 0 to 100, right? That I won't lie, that is hard, like a hard thing to do. And you know, making remixes and recreations, it does have its benefits, right? There are so many different songs I can think of that blew up. I mean, like one artist, and shout out to him, because during that whole situation I was covering, like I saw him in the comment section of Mitch Darrow, I think, but Mike Teasy, like he was an open book, like he was honest about why he makes recreations and remixes, and he basically like justified it on his end as like, hey, listen, like I do make these remixes, but respectfully, like I have my own catalog of music, right? So it's kind of like
Yeah.
that explanation you can respect a little bit more, right? Just because,
He's trying to use it as a stepping point to his catalog.
yeah,
Trying to get the people who are familiar with song A to see, oh, look, this guy has his own stuff.
exactly, right.
Which I get that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you can respect it a little bit more, where it's kind of like, okay, well, at least he's giving an explanation for this, right? You know what I mean? Like, so with Mike Teasy, with him, or just like who blew up beginning of the year, Venice, right? Like, I didn't know who this guy was, like, at all. And
Yeah.
when he dropped that, basically like that remix to what I don't know what that Cardi song, what the name of that Cardi song was, but like it's I don't know if you've seen the music video where he's at the gas station and he's kind of like, it's like they literally like put him on the news or put him on a shirt.
I don't know. I just saw a short from Venice with a song called Just Listen, and I added that one to my library. I don't add many songs that I see from Christians on like TikTok or Instagram to my library. So that was kind of, a little bit of a shock for me that I heard it and I liked it enough to add it to my library.
Yeah, so it's like seeing him blow up and seeing in the comments like, oh, like we got Christian Cardi before GTA 6, we got like all these crazy comments.
Yeah.
Remixes and recreations are a powerful tool. So it's kind of like, to obviously, like, especially like any artist listening, like to just say like, bro, like just put down the remixes, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, like that sounds corny because it's kind of like on your end you're trying to figure out how to make this work, how to make your music work, right? How to get the airplane off the ground. But I would say it's like it's a tool, but it's not your, I don't know, it's not like your car, right? Remixes are like, it's a bike, but it's not the whole vehicle. It's not a car, right? Your car is like your story. It's your body of work. It's like your whole entire discography, right? That like
Yeah.
people, when you're trying to like, when you're so focused on the numbers, like those people, like those are human beings too that are trying to hone in and listen to what you're saying, your story, and reflect it into their own day-to-day lives every day.
And I think that's where it goes into the difference between what we were saying earlier when I mentioned those two examples, the straight up copying and almost an inspired, or a better word would be a homage, an homage to something, right? Where you're just like you're just slightly reflecting it in your music, but you're still adding original elements to it, and that's like what stuff like what Venice does, and people like him, I mean, I would even say Mike Teasy does that. His remix of Chris Brown's Under the Influence.
Yeah.
It's not the same exact thing
Mhm.
as Chris Brown's original song. It just has enough elements that it's very obviously trying to imitate it.
Yeah.
But still, it's original enough where oh, this is a different artist. This isn't the same person.
Exactly.
So, I mean...
Exactly, right? So, in his case and like with where he's going, like now, in my opinion, my hope is that he kind of weans off and gets off that formula, and I don't have to listen to like, because I mean at this point, like it's kind of like he has a pretty big following, so it's kind of like
I agree.
My hope is that like he's fully off that and he's really focused on like telling my story, you know what I mean, like really not really focusing on just like the numbers and engagement that Instagram like really graciously offers. Realistically, it's like the algorithm and the way it is now, it's like it's anyone can blow up, man. It's really like the Instagram algorithm is like, I would say that's probably the best way for people to blow up nowadays. You don't need the best content. It's like it could be the worst made content and it gets like 25,000 likes, right, in the comment section. But it's like my hope with him is hopefully like it's kind of like you can tell your story, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like people are more stuck on that than like this viral, I don't know, like I think the last thing he made was like there's this country artist that blew up, Shabuzi.
Yeah, Shabuzi.
Yeah.
He made a bar song, Tipsy.
Yeah, so with him it's kind of like it was smart, and I liked the way he made his content to basically like mirror a little bit and kind of like reflect like the Shabuzi, viral song and everything like that. But it's like my hope is kind of like that. It's kind of like he he brings it all the way down, and like he can just focus on the music, and I mean that in such
But
a
you know what's funny about that specific situation
Mhm.
is I think that he not only, and I mean he could correct me, you know, if he wants. I listen to Mike T's music. He has great songs out there like Hand on Me with Jacqueline Carr,
Yeah.
or I Got a Secret with Caleb Gordon, and he's had songs with 1K Few and all that, and they're great. But the thing with his cover of Shabuzi's song was that it wasn't only popularized by Shabuzi. There were lots of Christians making their own kind of almost corny covers of that song. They were like 1 to the 3 to the 4, we're gonna praise the Lord or something like that, and it was really cringe. And so I think Mike Teasy capitalized on that and made a Christian cover of it that wasn't so cheesy. See what I'm saying? Yeah.
One thing I want to get though is that like everything I'm saying, I want to make sure it's coming like I'm being respectful about it, just because like I don't want to just go off on a negative like tangent, and then it sounds like I'm like bombarding like an artist or whatever, right? But it's just more so concerns I have, like you know what I mean. Whenever
Yeah.
I'm just talking about something that is kind of like these are just concerns that are rolling through my head. This is not like
Speak the truth in love. Speak
yeah.
the truth in love.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, so with Mike Tease's thing, it's like I love it. I love his music. I love the direction he's going in. My only hope and concern is just like basically like yeah, whatever. Like you know what I mean, recreations and everything like that. And seeing kind of like heavy influences from other artists. Like it's still a thing, but it's like it's not a crazy thing that's like high up here. You know what I mean? It's kind of like people can focus more like it's kind of like you bring down the slider and then you focus more of like the selling point of like your own story and your own sound and your own narrative and kind of like pushing that forward into the algorithm and engagement and you know what I mean. So yeah, I would say that for sure. So but either way, it's not even about my
It's such a thin and it's a crazy line because like another example, Mike Teasy has a song called Can I Get a question mark?
yeah.
Can I Get an Amen? It was very inspired by Chris Brown's Iffy.
Mhm.
Now that one is one of the rare exceptions where it's trying to be original enough.
Mhm.
Mike Teasy added this original element to it, but
Mhm.
still, it reminds me so much of Chris Brown's Iffy. And as
Yeah.
someone who does listen to secular music, like
Mhm.
I hear it and I go, well, it's iffy. I don't really want to listen to Mike Teasy's version because honestly, Chris Brown's version of it is kind of, in my opinion, better. I like iffy a lot more. So like it's such a fine and dangerous line.
Mhm.
And I think that it's just better to avoid it altogether. You know what I mean? Just make original.
Yeah,
You
I would
know?
agree with that. I would agree with that. But sorry, my whole point is remixes and recreations, they're great, they're useful, but you know what I mean? I want to hear your story. That's all I really want. I want to hear your own
Yeah.
story and your own sound. That's really what matters at the helm at the end of the day. But
I think that was a great conversation.
yeah,
And I'd like to thank Solo for talking with me about, you know, just we didn't even just talk about CHH. We talked about the music industry as a whole almost,
mhm.
and just the music scene. And I think that was a great conversation. Remember, I know two things. I know that Jesus is king and that JT, moi, knows best. See you guys next time.
All right.